First item is this lot of 2 vintage Charlie Chan books. 2 novels sold for 16.19, I think, with free shipping. Would have acquired these for less than $1 each, and they ship out media mail, so decent margin. Basic, nondescript, LL Bean contemporary open front cardigan, women's size small, sold for 20 bucks with free ship. Most of this stuff is free ship. A Ninja Turtles, maybe unofficial, maybe official, New Balance running shirt in a bright orange with a dark green emblem on the chest. I got this at the bins. It cost next to nothing. Very lightweight, 18 bucks. A Lauren Ralph Lauren, I think this was navy blue plaid, or no, it was gray with blue striped plaid sport coat. Sold for 40 with free ship. You may notice a trend here. These are not big marquee brands that you see in a lot of these What Sold videos. These are kind of middling, longer tail items. And these are what have sold because I have not been listing proactively on eBay at all. I've been doing mostly Whatnot, and I'll talk about this in more detail at the end of the video probably. But this is what happens. This is like this pension that starts paying off. Even on a fallow account, even when I'm not uploading and when I don't have a ton of activity on my account, this stuff still trickles in, still sells. A World of Warcraft book sold within a couple days for 25. This is one that I actually recently listed. I did not anticipate this being a long tail item, but it was. It was a potentially Llama insulated puffer jacket. It sold for 60 bucks on an offer, and it sold out of season. The brand is solid. It's a good brand. It's a rare brand. I think maybe because it had that corporate logo on the back. That's not the official logo of Koto Poxy, or maybe Kotopashi, or however that's pronounced. A big and tall tank top. Another one that I got at the bins. It was pretty cheap. 2XL, sold for 17. Just an okay brand. Another just okay brand, Cabbie, sold for 25. Basic pullover top. This is the kind of stuff that has still been selling for me. My sales on eBay are obviously way down, but this stuff is still selling. Soft Surroundings used to be a great brand. This used to be a quick flipping brand. It's gotten more saturated on the market. It's no longer a quick flipper for me. Still flipped for, I think, 15. The price that you see here is the list price, not what it actually sold for. Double checked, this sold for 18. New with tag scrub top. This is a return buyer. Bought a scrub top that was new for 15 bucks. I realized that I had these scrub tops listed as women's scrub tops despite being unisex and saying unisex on the tags. So I just made a dumb mistake when I first listed these, and they've been sitting in a bin for a long time. And I think that might be why. Even though probably people still desired it, because there was a mismatch in the information that's displayed on the item and in the title that really evacuates buyers' confidence in you. And you will get messages, like if you get the size wrong on an item, if you're just moving too quick and you list something as a large in the title and it's a medium, you'll still get DMs asking if it's a medium or a large. It just unnerves people when that kind of thing happens. This flipped for 14 bucks, Alberto Macaulay. I've flipped a bunch of Macaulay in the past, none of it for great money, but it's just done okay. This sold for 13 and a half. 90 Degree is an ass brand. It's not good. You can tell by the wood background how long this took to flip. This has probably been in my shop for like 2 years or something. It still eventually did flip. I do not advocate picking this brand up though. This sold for 14 bucks, 86 cents, a Toxic Avenger shirt. This would have sold more quickly if it had a better graphic. It's just the title of the movie. This was an old Troma, probably the most well-known Troma movie from the 80s, I think. This is just a disc. It sold for full price, 18 bucks. It was all scratched up and stuff. And I did the thing with this where I can't test the games. I don't have these consoles. So I say it's untested, and I offer free returns in case of any issues. And I don't think I've ever had to process a return on a video game or a DVD or a VHS tape. That's not true. I thought about it for a second. That's not true. I think once or twice that's happened. Anyway, the rate of defects is pretty low. This was a decent sale. This sold for 30. The brand is Minimal, MNML. It's a pair of like heavy duty sweats. I had it listed at 40. I didn't get any bites on it. Flipped for 30. I think it's an okay, slightly nicer brand. This is the same person that bought the one afterwards, bought 3 of them for a total of 38 and change. This rodeo shirt, the brand is just okay, White Horse. It was a desirable item because it had these embroidered hits on the front because it's a Western or a rodeo shirt. If you find stuff like this that has roses or other kinds of graphics embroidered on it, if the color scheme is weird, like if it's color blocked, if it's clearly vintage, or if it's from one of the prestige brands like Scully. Scully's probably the best brand for this kind of a shirt. Scully, and it had a flaw there on the sleeve, a little discoloration. Still flip for $30, full price. I think I got this at the bins too, $15. Brewery shirts tend to be fairly safe. I've done okay with them even if they don't have a good track record on eBay. Like, this is the kind of thing I'll just throw up on a gamble if I can find it at the bins, because chances are there's a beer nerd somewhere that knows about the beer and there's a limited supply of stuff. So even if other stuff from that brand, like Division 23, if there were a couple other shirts, probably this specific graphic or the specific beer in question that's being advertised is probably harder to find. Maybe you don't have a lot of competition, and that might be the thing that people want. $18 for Free People. Free People still does okay on eBay. My buddy Mick sells a lot of Free People, and he says that the sales on eBay have slowed down. I'm not doing the big volume on eBay anymore, so I'm not in a position to say one way or the other. I do trust his judgment. I will say Free People sells great on Whatnot still. And I think that Whatnot is a fairly good bellwether for what will sell and what won't sell. Elsewhere, just like overall broad trends, of course, there's always big asterisks there when you generalize for the resale market. Generally, when you generalize a market generally, that is a little dangerous to do, but based on what I've seen, Free People is still popular. This Canali jacket sold for $67.50 on an offer. Canali is a solid middle range, kind of a longer tail suit company. 2-piece suits, especially if they're recent, will be worth good money. Good meaning more than $100. If it's really recent, like if it's the current line of Canali and it's a really nice suit, then you can probably get more for it. This blue tag, I think, is 2000s era, like early 2000s. I could be wrong. Little niche brands, maybe you haven't heard of it before. It's Old Navy. It's European or something. I think this sold for $13. Probably sent out a 10% offer and someone grabbed it. Yeah, I don't recommend getting Old Navy stuff unless you can get it for free, which might have been the case here. Actually, I said that, and now that I think about it, there's plenty of Old Navy stuff that will sell. I just sold like a linen blend romper that was in really good shape, again on Whatnot, but stuff like that, stuff that's a little nicer, harder to come by, denim jackets, there can still be opportunities there if you source the stuff for cheap enough and you're willing to sit on it. Pair of basic Talbots light wash jeans sold for full price, $25. Talbots apparently is doing well still on eBay and Poshmark. This didn't sit for all that long. I think for like 2 or 3 months before it sold, which, is fine with me. I got this one at the bins too, so I didn't really have anything into it. This is a vintage kind of nothing t-shirt, flip for $12. Another bins find. The bin stuff cost me very little money. So it doesn't really bother me when it doesn't sell quickly. The reason I've been historically so focused in on sell-through rate is that I was, for the first big chunk of my reselling career, I was sourcing just from the full-priced Goodwill retail thrifts and thrift stores like that, where stuff cost more than $5 a piece. So I was much more laser focused in on sell-through rate, which is still a good muscle to flex whenever possible. And in fact, I'm getting much more selective at the bins now, or just generally when I source clothing, even for Whatnot. So I find myself returning back to my roots in a way. But if you can tolerate longer spans of time between when you list it and when you sell it, and you can get away with just not paying very much for something, then this kind of a situation becomes more and more reality and more possible, where you just make these long tail sale items on a daily basis, and they pile up. This is a lot of people's long-term business strategy. I've talked this point to death on the channel. I have videos about it that are older. $27 on this one, Prana shorts. I think these had flaws. Prana bottoms have just done great for me consistently. The only Prana item that I have had any kind of circumspection about has been the long sleeve button-up shirts for men. Everything else is done pretty well. Pretty well. Like stuff that's really tacky and horrible has not sold as quickly as this more basic stuff, but these hiking pants and shorts are pretty safe money. This brand is not that safe of money. You have to have a heat-seeking missile when you source Levi's, really know what you're looking at. Even with jeans, every cut, every size, every color has its own little sell-through velocity. This is a lot of too. It sold for $20. I sourced this on Poshmark right at the start of COVID, really, or close to the start of COVID, and it just sold. So basic Levi's, everyday pieces. I mean, you find it everywhere. It's litter at this point. This is a Hawaiian shirt, Marty Cat. I bought it because, frankly, I thought that the logo was cool. Chilled out little Hunter Thompson cat guy, man spreading with a martini. I liked that logo very much. I thought someone else would too. The sales velocity was kind of weak. I think I had it for half a year. Sold for 22. Basic pair of O'Neill's sold for 17. Most of this stuff I had to send out offers to get people to bite on it. That's okay though, because this was a bins pickup. I'm pretty sure had this barbecue all over print thing going on. This sold for 90, which is on the low end of what I would contemplate accepting this for, because it's Loro Piana. The brand is just okay. Peter So, it's nothing. I think it's just some local tailor. I don't think that's a notable brand. I priced it up as high as I did, and that's pretty high for me with suits or jackets, is because of these cuffs. This is called a surgeon's cuff or a working cuff or sometimes a working surgeon's cuff. Most buttons on suit jackets are ornamental. They're just stitched on. You can't actually unbutton them. And when you can unbutton them, that's a mark of quality. It's much more expensive to manufacture suits that way. So there's the brand, Peter So. Who cares? This may have been a bespoke jacket because it was tailored like that. I don't know if they do that with made-to-measure suits. That's where you measure yourself, or you have a tailor measure you, and then you send in your measurements. They make you a suit, or you can do it through department stores. They kind of make you a custom suit. Bespoke is the process whereby a tailor will take multiple measurements of you and come up with drafts, and then bring you back in to measure you again and make modifications. So it takes like 2 or 3 visits, and you get a suit that is custom built from the ground up just for you and your body. That's the most expensive kind of suit. You have to spend thousands of dollars to get one usually. So this might have been the case here. It could have been bespoke. I don't know of like a good shorthand to be able to identify bespoke versus made to measure out in the wild. Not an expert. There's a couple other little tells. I don't know that were okay. If you don't want the suit seminar, then sorry to bore you. But one other good tell that you have like a quality suit or jacket is if you lift up the collar. If you look at the stitching, there will be like felt under the collar, and where the felt connects with the material of the wool. If the stitching is hand stitched, so if it's a single stitch and it's uneven spacing, that means it was stitched by hand. That's probably an indication that it's a more expensive piece. If it's like the V's and it's even spacing, that's machine stitch. It was made in a clothing factory. It's less expensive. Do not buy a suit or a jacket just based on the strength of this one detail or even the working surgeon's cuffs alone. The brand is still really important. I got a bunch of these hardcover graphic novels from a thrift store for between $5 and actually $50 each. The $50 one I still have on my shelf. That's the last one that's waiting to sell. It's worth like $200. All the rest of them have sold for between, I don't know, $30 and $200. So I've done really well with them. $75 for this one. It's a Jack Kirby omnibus. He's the guy who created the Spirit. pretty safe money, especially in good condition and collectible. If you can find somebody's collection, that's what happened to me. Somebody donated their collection or somebody else's collection to this one thrift store. They're all living on the same shelf. I didn't grab all of them because they were priced up a little bit. Had they been priced at $10 each or less, I would have just grabbed all of them. This sold for full price, $16. Basic Eddie Bauer, technically a flannel shirt. It wasn't like the thick flannel. It was just kind of thinner, almost more like a dress shirt. Basic bread and butter piece. Another really good book niche to know is Tabletop RPG Books. You can go wrong. Not all of them are created equal. It's not like if you just find any RPG book, it's going to be worth money. But a lot of them are. This is a rare RPG book, sold for $33. If you find old D&D books, if you find old Warhammer books, Call of Cthulhu, like the White Wolf stuff, Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf, that kind of stuff, like the bigger, better known RPGs, or the really niche, weird ones, can be worth a ton of money. I sold 2 Muppet VHS tapes for $25. I picked these up at a swap meet or flea market, as most people call them, and I don't know that I would do it again. It was okay, whatever, media mail. It was okay. I think I paid like $1 or $2 each for them. $19.79 for Salt Life. Salt Life has weakened over the course of me being a reseller. Used to be great, hole in one. Now it is a hole in few. It's okay. It's like a fishing brand or kind of surf, one of those brands that's all the above. Everything to do with the ocean it's associated with. It's okay. This took longer to sell than I thought it would. It was probably priced up a little too much. This was exasperating. It didn't actually sell. It was a non-paying buyer, but I included it in the video because it's a great brand to know. Red Wing makes these boots that are really expensive. They're really sought after by collectors. I don't know how long they've been around. I assume they've been around for a long time. They're probably one of those companies from the 30s that was all made in USA. And probably if you find that stuff, it's worth hundreds and hundreds of bucks. I just am filling in the blanks here, running on pure assumption based on the popularity. The fact that someone would be willing to spend $200 on a used pair of boots. For whatever reason, they're very popular and very expensive. I didn't even look them up. I found them at a garage sale, and the guy wanted $50 for them, and I just bought them immediately because they are in relatively good shape. If you find them new in box, obviously, like any kind of shoe, they're going to be worth more money. I've had multiple offers on these in the 150 or in the 100 to $200 range. I finally just accepted an offer of $200, non-paying buyer. They will sell. This sold for $22. I'm surprised that it has taken as long to sell, or it took as long to sell as it did. It's Untuckit. I guess it has been really crazy hot. This might have been from before the big heat wave, though. Size medium. It's a little out of season. It's a flannel shirt. Untuckit has been relatively solid for me. There are other sales on eBay. We're over to Poshmark, though, before I run out of space on the phone to record. This is a Hugo Boss jacket, flip for $55. Took a surprisingly long time to flip. Good size, fairly recent, good material. Sometimes it just happens. This is the rare Prana piece that I took a very long time to sell, or that the market took a very long time to sell. This is what I had in mind when I was saying tacky and ugly. $19. For some reason, these just took forever to sell. Diesel t-shirt, flip for $15. Diesel is just a solid middle of the road bread and butter brand. This sold for $112. This is a lot of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Untuckit shirts. I found them all at one Goodwill. I paid full price for them, probably $7 to $9 each, I think. A PacSun shirt, basic PacSun shirt, $11. If you have PacSun near you, it's an okay brand, very okay. Kind of on par with like a J. Crew or something. This is a men's long sleeve button-up Prana shirt that did flip for $18. This looks like it's around Y2K era Prana. Got it at the bin, so I still flipped it. All right, and we're out of space as foretold in the prophecy. So there were not that many more Poshmark sales. Poshmark is almost stone dead for me at this point. I haven't been putting a whole lot of effort into it. Something switched around with their algorithm a while back, and it may have been a killing blow. Maybe it'll turn around, but at this point, with as much of my energy and focus being on Whatnot as it is, and eBay kind of running in the background and pinch hitting from time to time, I don't know that Poshmark is really going to be worth my time and effort anymore. Not to say that you shouldn't or couldn't sell there. I've made plenty of money on Poshmark over the years. I may circle back to it. Cross-listing from eBay to Poshmark is still relatively simple. Listing on eBay has become a real true pain in the ass. They changed the user interface around. I'm sure all of us know at this point. And I despise the new interface. It's not enough to keep me from listing there. That's not why I'm not listing there, but it is definitely annoying. The reason I'm not listing on eBay as much is because I'm so focused on Whatnot. I've been really trying to like turn the screws down with Whatnot and figure out a strategy that consistently works, because the clothing sales were awesome for a while and then they dropped off, and I'm getting better at sourcing for Whatnot. So I'm going to be doing more like what sold on Whatnot videos, because I think that that stuff is still educational and still reflects, like I said, upon overall like clothing buying trends when it comes to brand and style. The nice thing about Whatnot is that you get immediate feedback on what does and does not sell. So I'm picking up on like general trends and seeing what brands still, curry favor with people, and which don't. I am finding as an overall trend, if you are a Whatnot seller, that in terms of contemporary clothing, women's clothing knocks men's clothing out of the park, especially in terms of attendance numbers. I was doing generalized clothing auctions that mixed both men's and women's clothing and getting a moderate response. People would file in. I would have an okay audience every time. I was doing like every Friday. I had a specifically men's auction. Attendance was way down. And I had a women's auction, and it was like, it bumped up into the high 90s at a couple spots in terms of people watching, which for me recently is really good. When I first started doing Whatnot auctions, I think the debut, I got close to like 300 people watching. I've not come close to that since, although the early days, I think I did get over 200 a couple times. But 90 is great. And that's just based on the strength of contemporary women's clothing. And I had a thumbnail that had like the Lululemon Onk in it, a couple other brands like Disney. So there's more interest, it seems, in the contemporary women's than the contemporary men's. Vintage is another animal. Vintage t-shirts are unisex. I think it's primarily male buyers, is just the impression that I get. That's its own market, and I've made multiple attempts to try to get into it. I don't think I'm all that great at vintage t-shirts, and the thing with vintage t-shirts is the competition is just crazy. You really have to also have exactly the kind of vintage t-shirt that people really want. And it does suffer from condition issues unless it's something remarkable. Like if it's a vintage Wu-Tang t-shirt from the 90s, condition is not as important as if it's just like a standard bread and butter thing that I might and do find at the bins. If it has stains and holes on it, it's not necessarily worth all that much. So it's a tough niche to focus in on, especially because I'm just not inherently all of like that passionate about it. Not that, well, I am super passionate about women's clothing, of course. I guess that's not a great metric by which to judge a niche, but I just have had less luck with that than I have with contemporary women's stuff. So I find myself mentally kind of pivoting over to women's clothing, which I did threaten at one point might eventually happen, and it appears to be happening. I still know a lot more about men's clothing, and one of these days I will have to sit down and learn the dress keywords, which sounds about as pleasant as doing my taxes, which I just did, and I wanted to squeeze lemon juice straight into my eyes. So, there will be more What Sold videos from Whatnot coming when I do some more clothing auctions. I am doing a book auction probably today when you're watching it. If you're watching it when this video is published, there's one today at 5 p.m. It's close to 200 science fiction and fantasy books, old sci-fi and like sword and sorcery type fantasy, Conan and that kind of stuff. And it's really good stuff. So if you're interested in that at all, I imagine that you're not. But if you are my kind of an animal and you like that kind of literature, then links in the description. Contemplate joining us. Otherwise, see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.